Some of the strongest friendships are born in the hardest times. During World War I, soldiers from opposing sides called a truce on Christmas Day, sharing songs, gifts, and even soccer in no man's land. For a moment, they weren't enemies. They were just people. This moment shows us that trust can grow even in the harshest places, needing only a little kindness to sprout. We're often taught to be suspicious, to see others as rivals, especially when survival is at stake. But history keeps surprising us with moments of connection. Sometimes the bravest thing is to offer a hand instead of a fist. When we face a common problem, our differences can fade, and shared experience becomes a bridge. This is the story of the Carver family, who found themselves in a situation designed to make them enemies with everyone around them. But what happened was something entirely different. They discovered that the lines we draw between us and them are often just imaginary. The Carver family, Mr. and Mrs. Carver, their son Leo and daughter Maya, woke up on the cold stone floor of a maze, surrounded by towering hedges and endless, winding paths. Panic set in. They weren't alone. Distant voices echoed through the maze. Mr. Carver whispered, "Stay together. Don't talk to anyone. We can only rely on ourselves." Every shadow felt like a threat. Every sound a warning. The maze was a puzzle with no instructions, its thorny vines grabbing at their clothes. Hours passed, but they made no progress, always ending up at the same dead ends. Maya began to cry, hope flickering with every wrong turn. Fear made them jumpy and suspicious. When they saw another group, a man and his son, just as lost, they hid, hearts pounding. Instinct told them. Anyone else was a competitor, not a fellow prisoner. They didn't see allies, only rivals. This fear kept them isolated, alone in a crowd. The maze wasn't just a physical trap, it was a test of trust. And so, the Carvers stayed hidden, convinced that survival meant staying apart. Days blurred into hunger and despair. The Carvers rationed snacks, but it wasn't enough. They moved in silence, always avoiding others. Suspicion spread like poison. Every group kept their distance. One evening, huddled in an alcove, they overheard a boy crying, "I'm so hungry, Dad!" The father's voice was heavy. "We'll find something. We just have to keep trying." Elena Carver listened, realizing the boy's cries weren't those of an enemy. They were just a child, like Maya. For the first time, the Carvers saw their own suffering reflected in strangers. Were these people really their enemies? Or just scared, hungry, and lost like them? The simple story of us versus them began to unravel. The whispers in the maze were no longer just threats. They were the sounds of people, all trapped in the same nightmare. Fear lingered, but empathy crept in. The Carvers' perspective started to shift. Maybe, just maybe, they weren't alone in this after all. The walls between them and the others began to thin, and with that, the first seeds of trust were sown. The turning point came with a simple act of kindness. Maya, seeing a thirsty girl from another family, offered her nearly empty water bottle. The girl's mother hesitated, then saw the kindness in Maya's eyes and nodded in gratitude. For a moment, suspicion melted away. Later, Leo twisted his ankle while climbing a hedge. Before his family could reach him, the father from another group, Ben, a doctor, rushed to help. He wrapped Leo's ankle, showing Mr. Carver what to do. "We're all in this together," Ben said. That sentence changed everything. The Carvers saw not rivals, but allies. Small acts of help began to break the ice of mistrust. The maze was still a prison, but they were no longer alone in their cells. Fear was replaced by a fragile sense of community. The first crack in the ice had appeared, and through it, hope began to shine. The Carvers realized kindness could be the key to survival. The walls between families started to crumble. A new chapter was about to begin. kindness multiplied. After Ben helped Leo, Mrs. Carver offered her last dried apples to Ben and his son, Sam. Ben took only a little, insisting she keep the rest. But Mrs. Carver said, "We share it, all of us." That evening, families who'd avoided each other gathered in a clearing. Someone found berries, another collected dew, and they pooled their food for a shared meal. Conversation replaced silence. Suspicion gave way to curiosity. They learned each other's names: Ben, Sam, Sarah. No longer the others, they became people with stories and hopes. For the first time, hope returned. The meal was more than food, it was a declaration. We faced this together. The maze was still dangerous, but now they were a team. They mapped the maze, shared knowledge, and supported each other. The fear that once divided them now united them. Their community, born of struggle, grew stronger with every act of trust. The Carvers saw that survival wasn't about competition, it was about connection. The hope that had faded now burned brightly. Together they were more than the sum of their parts. The maze had brought them together, and together they would find a way out. Their cooperation was put to the test when they found a massive stone door covered in strange symbols. It was clearly the way out, but locked by a puzzle. Excitement and anxiety filled the air. Mr. Carver studied the symbols. "It's a logic puzzle. We need to press them in the right order, together." The solution required everyone's participation. The puzzle wasn't just about intelligence, it was about trust and teamwork. Mr. Carver assigned roles: Ben, the sun; Sarah, the river; Leo, the mountain. They practiced, calling out their parts, learning to coordinate. After a few failed attempts, they got the timing right. The stone door rumbled open, revealing a tunnel out of the maze. Relief and joy swept through the group. They had done it, together. The door wasn't opened by one person's strength, but by their alliance. Each person's small part was essential. They realized, alone, they would have failed. United, they succeeded. The maze's final test was not of wit, but of trust. Stepping through the stone door, they emerged into sunlight, free at last. The maze, once terrifying, now seemed small behind them. The people who'd been strangers now felt like family. The children, Maya and Sam, played together, laughter echoing in the open field. The adults shared a quiet understanding. Their ordeal had forged an unbreakable bond. Mr. Carver shook Ben's hand. "Thank you," Ben replied. "We saved each other." Each person's strengths had helped the group survive. Their differences became their greatest assets. As they prepared to part, they exchanged numbers and promises to stay in touch. They left the maze as a united community. The greatest discovery wasn't the way out, it was each other. Sometimes you have to get lost to find out who you can really count on. In the months after their escape, the families kept their promise. They met for picnics, celebrated birthdays, and became part of each other's lives. The children's friendship was a daily reminder of the kindness that started it all. The adults found unexpected common ground. The maze had changed them, made them more open, more willing to trust. Mr. Carver learned the value of collaboration. Mrs. Carver found courage. Leo discovered true bravery. Maya showed them the way. They often spoke of the maze, not with fear, but with wonder. It had burned away their prejudices, leaving only shared humanity. The maze was a metaphor for life. Confusing, sometimes scary, but easier with allies. The greatest lesson? The path forward is found in connection, not isolation. Even in a competitive world, kindness builds bridges. Their story became proof that shared struggles create the strongest bonds. The Carver's story isn't just about being lost and found. It's a reminder for us all. How often do we judge before we know someone? We build our own mazes of suspicion. But what if we chose to be like Maya, offering a small gesture of trust? The people we see every day have their own stories and struggles. A simple hello or act of help could be the first step to breaking down walls. You might discover an ally where you least expect one. True strength is having the courage to connect, to ask for help, and to offer it. Be brave enough to reach out. You never know what friendships are waiting. The world is full of potential allies disguised as strangers. All you have to do is look.